I didn't know about near-death experience, but I did believe in reincarnation. They were saying, "Diane, wake up. Diane, wake up." And I'm thinking, what are the odds that she would have the same name as I would have? And I'm going, "Hey, that's me. What's happening here?" And the next thing I know, I am standing at the bottom of her bed, and I'm looking up at her like I'm looking at you, and I realize it's me. And as I'm floating, the white opens up in front of me, and there are 2 rows of monks, and he said, "You cannot stay, it's not your time, you must go back." I just feel like I found home. I feel like everything that I've ever wanted or needed is right here, right now. I'm feeling loved and cherished for the first time in my life. You cannot send me back. I realize that everything we say and do affects everybody else. It's like dropping a pebble into water where it just goes out, the rings just keep going out. I think there's heaven and hell on earth. It's not, those are not places that we go to. FEAR stands for forgetting. Everything's all right. I don't know that I think I believed in reincarnation. So, yeah, I didn't know about near-death experience, but I did believe in reincarnation. So that would allow that to be. Okay. In 1981, I went into the hospital to have an arthroscopic surgery on my left knee because I'd had an accident where I dislocated my knee and did a lot of damage to it. But I had waited 10 years to have the surgery because I was a working model and I couldn't have the big scar that would occur with regular surgery on the knee. Um, and the surgery seemed to go quite well. My belief was that everything was fine. I had a really good surgeon. I trusted him. And what I didn't realize until later is that there had been so much more damage to the knee than I had thought, and also the doctor had thought, because they didn't have MRIs and things like that in 1981. So they couldn't quite conceptualize what all needed to be repaired. So I was on the table and under anesthesia much longer than they had originally anticipated. And at that time, because I was a working model, I was very thin, and it was a lot of anesthesia for my body. So I remember going into the surgical suite and they put a warm blanket on me, and that relaxed my body enough that I could go out. And one of the things that I was aware of before I did that was how cold I had been. And I think in a way it was a precursor to what was coming. So I woke up in recovery um, after the surgery, and there was a lot of commotion in the bed next to me. And I didn't want to pay any attention because I didn't want to know what was happening over there. I was concentrating on my own experience of what I had had. And I realized that they were calling, it was a woman, by my name. They were saying, "Diane, wake up. Diane, wake up." And I'm thinking, what are the odds that she would have the same name as I would have? It didn't make sense to me, but I thought, they're busy trying to help revive her. So I'll wait until everything calms down, and then I'll speak to a nurse and inquire about what's going on. Because my fear was that they had done the surgery on the wrong person and maybe done the wrong surgery. Anyway, a few minutes later, they're now calling her by her full name, Diane Sherman, wake up. Diane Sherman, wake up. And I'm going, "Hey, that's me. What's happening here? And they're still not responding to me. And now I'm getting a little concerned. And the next thing I know, I am standing at the bottom of her bed and I'm looking up at her like I'm looking at you. And I realize it's me, but I didn't have any feeling about it. I just knew that person represented me, but I had no feeling about her, and I wasn't concerned about her in any way, and I was just kind of watching and listening. And I even remembered looking down at myself, and I could see myself in the hospital gown and my bare feet, and I looked back up at her, and it was clearly me, but there was no heart connection, there was no worry, no fear, no interest in what was going on with her. The next thing I knew, I was up in the corner of the room overlooking what they were doing, and I still didn't have any feeling about it. It's like it didn't matter what was happening to her because that wasn't me, even though I could clearly see it was me. Then I felt being pulled out of the corner of the room, and now I'm being pushed forward. And every time I say that, I can feel my body kind of resisting going. But I was being pushed forward into this darkness, this tunnel of darkness. And as a kid, I was afraid of the dark. So this felt very threatening to me and scary. And I thought, if I could just find one little tiny glimmer of light, I'll be okay. Because part of the fear of the darkness was a fear of being blind, not being able to see what was coming at me. So a few minutes later, I'm searching and I'm looking and I'm stretching and I'm looking and I see this one little tiny, tiny glimmer of light. And I'm now fixated on that glimmer of light. And all of a sudden, that glimmer is getting closer and it's getting bigger and it's getting closer and it's getting bigger. And now everything around me is the light. And it's gorgeous and it's loving and it's safe and it's so beautiful because it has all these it's almost like colors of the rainbow in it, but it's white. It's a color of white I've never seen in my life. And I felt very safe in that experience of it. And the next thing I know, I'm floating forward. And I remember sort of laughing to myself, looking down. I could see I was about that far off the ground, that I was floating. And how interesting is that? I'm floating. And as I'm floating, the white opens up in front of me, and there are 2 rows of monks in brown robes standing on either side in front of me. And as I'm floating in between them and I reach the end of the line of monks, this monk on the left, the last monk steps forward and he said, "You cannot stay. It's not your time. You must go back." And I looked at him and I said, "Wait a minute. I just got here. I just feel like I found home. I feel like everything that I've ever wanted or needed is right here, right now. I'm feeling loved and cherished for the first time in my life. You cannot send me back." And he said, "You have a child. You must go back." And so I started thinking about my daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. And I thought, who would take care of her if I stayed, if I really got to stay? Well, both my parents had already passed away. And my ex-husband was my ex-husband for a reason. I didn't feel he was right to take care of her because I had full custody of my daughter since she was 9 months old. So I kept thinking my sister wasn't emotionally stable enough to be a good parent for her. I just didn't have anybody that would love her and care for her the way I felt she deserved to be loved and cared for. And in that realization, I was back in my body. And when I came out of all of that, I was in my hospital room and I had, um, there was another woman who was sharing the room with me. She'd also had arthroscopic surgery. and she was in tremendous pain, and she'd had far less to fix than I did. Mine was much more extensive, and yet I wasn't in pain, and they had me up on crutches walking that night with it, and that was very unusual in 1981. Today, it's kind of the norm, and after that, um, I really didn't realize what had happened to me until my sister and and this is probably, I don't know, less than a week after the surgery, my sister and I went out to dinner to a restaurant we'd been to many, many times. It was comfortable and easy, and I remember standing there waiting for our table, and all of a sudden, all of this, it was like a big wave of energy came, and it had everybody's voice and their story and their pain and their suffering and their wants and their needs and their fears, and it's all just coming at me, and I thought, "Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. I'm becoming schizophrenic. I'm listening to all this dialogue, coming in, people talking," and I'm thinking, "There's something radically wrong with me. I don't understand what's happening." But also at that time, I didn't have anybody to share it with. If I told my sister, she would have thought I was crazy. And there was mental illness in my family, so it didn't feel safe. I couldn't tell the priest. He would have thought I was a heretic. And so it took me a long time to work through all these different bits and pieces of the experience to understand what had happened. Thank you. I don't know that I was brave. I think you just react the way you react in circumstances like that. Well, before my near death experience, I was sort of the consummate victim. You know, life was happening to me. I didn't have any responsibility in what was happening. I was the victim. And after my near death experience, I realized that we are totally loved and supported here, that this is a very loving universe and a loving God. And we are given the opportunity to have free will to make choices for ourselves. So that empowered me to understand that I had the power to make changes in my life. I didn't have to feel like a victim. I could feel more proactive in creating the life I really wanted to have. And that changed everything. My whole outlook on life and people and relationships and connection, changed. I realized that everything we say and do affects everybody else. It's like dropping a pebble into water where it just goes out, the rings just keep going out. And I really believe that our job is to be the best version of ourselves we can be and to just keep moving each day into the emotions of what we're experiencing. Coming in as a human being, we're wired for feelings and the emotions to guide us to where we need to go and how we need to do it. And so I had to learn to feel my way instead of think my way. And I realized that this is a monkey mind. It's not my friend. It's not a wise guru. It's a computer loop of every experience I've ever had. And I can't make determinations for my life going forward from this. I had to learn to connect with my heart and my intuition. I think there's heaven and hell on earth. Those are not places that we go to. I think we create heaven for ourselves with our experiences, with the choices that we make for ourselves. And I think the same thing of hell. I think hell is right here. People are in a lot of pain here, and it's not an easy place to be. So I don't believe it's a destination. I believe it's an experience we create here. I do not believe the Christian belief of you're going to die and go to hell because you're being punished. There is no punishment. God loves us unconditionally. He's not punishing us in any way. We punish ourselves by putting ourselves in bad positions. Um, I go back to Eckhart Tolle And The Power of Now is such an important book. So is The New Earth. I mean, he was very insightful in both of those books, but for me, The Power of Now, it just keeps replaying in my world. Um, it's about being in the present. We're all kind of projecting out to the future of what's gonna happen if I choose this or I do this. What's gonna happen to me? How's it gonna work? Is it gonna be okay? And being afraid of all those kinds of questions. And I say to people, don't go out there. Stay in the present, which is what Eckhart Tolle's book was about, being in the moment, in the present of each moment. Because when we project out there, we're going into fear. FEAR stands for forgetting. Everything's all right. When we project out there, we scare ourselves. When we ask ourselves the question, well, what do I have to be afraid of? Because I know everything is okay. My needs and wants are being met. I'm safe. I have a roof over my head. I have food. I have loving people in my life. Why would I want to make myself afraid about questions I can't even answer? And so we need to stay out of the future thinking and stay in the present moment, because that is where we get the guidance, we get the answers, we get the little, tap on the shoulder, look this way or make that choice or. And we miss out on that if we're always projecting out there or going to the past where we have no power. We have no power in either direction. All our power is right here. Thanks. I do. I help people remove the blocks and barriers that are happening to them emotionally, spiritually, physically. And I help people have realizations about what's going on in their lives. One of the gifts I came back with is called clear sight. That's what my guides call it, clear sight. And I'm able to see not the expression that's on the outside, but the internal workings of the person's heart. So I'm able to see them in their preciousness, and I try to mirror that to them so that they get a sense of who they really are, not who they think they are or who their monkey mind has told them they are or the parents have led them to believe they are, but who they really are in their power, in their beauty and in their preciousness. I would love to say to your audience that the most important thing they can do is to really learn to love and appreciate who they are, to own all of their little imperfections and all of their small failings and to stop judging them, just appreciate them. None of us are perfect in human form, and we're very quick to judge and put ourselves down. And that's not why we're here. We're here to be curious, to love and be loved, to create different things for ourselves and have fun being here. Don't take it so seriously. Don't believe everything you hear. Trust what you feel first and foremost. And loving yourself is the most important job you have. Because when you love yourself and you stop making yourself wrong, you'll stop judging everybody else, and the world will be a safer, more loving place.